So good evening. Tonight is May 2nd, and this is BizTech 313. And tonight there's several key announcements. So I want you to pay really good close attention, and we are going to get through this. Now, tonight we're talking about group presentation theory, and right off the bat, I'm going to give you an announcement. We are getting very close recording. Okay, sorry about that little lost in audio. So we're going to start again. So this week, our weekly focus is on the group presentation theory, building rubrics, as well as how we evaluate and kind of reflect upon a presentation. So as we look at the calendar and we look at everything that we need to do, for this particular semester, we are not going to have a group presentation. So that's my major announcement, is there's not going to be a group presentation. Now, the points that we would allocate to that group presentation, though, that's going to flow over to your individual presentation. So that's going to be worth a whole lot of points. So I want you to put everything you have into your individual presentation. There are some resources that are very valuable resources for group presentations, however, that I want you to be aware of, and I'll be presenting those tonight. So again, the major update here is there will not be a group presentation. So I know you're hugely disappointed. One less thing you get to do, but I just don't want to force it this late in the term. So let's have some fun. All right. So this particular week, you're going to have a keyword quiz based upon the major announcement that we just had. So the major announcement that we just had, by the way, is there's no group presentation. Okay, perfect. Let me go back to my settings, go back to student view, and continue on. When you go to the modules this week, it's going to start off with group presentation theory. So let's start off there. Now, there's some great methodology when it comes to group presentations, and group presentations allow us to take a presentation that may be too beefy or meaty for one person to present and break it up into sizable chunks, and then we share kind of the wealth. There's a great thought behind group presentations, and this particular document was from the Speaking Center out of Mississippi, Southern Mississippi State. And in Southern Mississippi, in their Speaking Center, they do some really cool support for students. And this is a great handout on just quick tips about how to work as a group, how to prepare the presentation, and just some words of encouragement. And again, it's very practical. The information that I put on this week is going to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty. So first things I want you to understand is there's a big difference between a solo presentation and a team presentation. Not just the obvious thing that you're up there or online standing alone, but it's in how you prepare, it's in how you structure. So we want to talk a lot about the similarities, but also about the differences and how to be successful in a team. So kind of broken this down into some topics. So first of all, talking about solo versus team presentations. That versus any team must have a goal. When you're an individual, it's really easy to decide on your goal because it's just you. But when you have a team to really collaborate and achieve that goal as a united team, it's a little bit more challenging. So when you have a group presentation, there's a lot more unifying and narrowing elements to it. Without a goal, though, your presentation will go nowhere. Also, there's a lot more variables because there's people, right? So preparation really is the key, and it's absolutely critical. And you're preparing at every step of the way. You're preparing where it comes to the content, you're preparing where it comes to the focus, every single phase, and communication has to be consistent. You have 3, 4, perhaps even 5 different people in your presentation team, all with different valuable thoughts and ideas and perspectives. let's go on. Then there's the rehearsal part. Again, keeping calm, rehearsing. And you rehearse often, you rehearse early, you rehearse in how you're communicating with each other, you rehearse with transitions, how you're going to introduce each other. It's not one of those things as a team in that you wait till the end. Transitions. Really focus on transitions. How are you going to pass the presentation back and forth? How is your audience going to understand the flow between all of you? Do you have specific roles that you will each play? And when you're on and it's time to present, you really need to be on. And that means your team arrives early, they've practiced on their microphones, they know what to do, and you feel very, very good with it. Now, there's a couple of resources that I've put here. This is an article by Stephen Boyd from the Public Speaking Tips, and this is how to really, really nail an in-person group presentation. One of the things you will notice on an online presentation, if you have a group presentation that is an online presentation, often it takes the format more of a panel presentation. Moving on to group presentations, here's a short little video on how to introduce each other and how to naturally and organic pass the presentation along, and you introduce from one speaker to the next. Without a doubt, that's often one of the most frustrating and challenging aspects of an in-person group presentation, and it can appear very awkward. Now let's talk about evaluation. In evaluation, there's several different stages. First of all is the self-reflection. In this self-reflection stage, and this is where you really, really evaluate yourself. One of the best ways to evaluate yourself is to tape yourself. Tape yourself, whether it be by voice or a videotape, and really watch yourself and see how you can improve. You never underestimate what you might see. Maybe there's gestures that you're using on a too repetitive basis, or you're using fillers such as and unintentionally. The second evaluation is an audience reaction. One of the things that I love speaking in person is because you do have the audience in front of you and you can respond to their reactions. You see the looks on their faces when they're getting it or they're not, or they're inquisitive and they're asking for more information, or they're bored and they're ready to fall asleep. So you can ebb and flow. When you have an online presentation, it's much more difficult. Your audience may just put up the screen and then go do the dishes. We've all done that. So then you have the audience evaluation, and this is an actual formalized tool that's used to give you feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what worked, what didn't work, and also what you can improve on. There are several different styles of evaluation forms. This is one of the most basic forms that we've used, and several instructors and I use this at American River College. And I want you just to look at the criteria, and we'll talk about the difference between an evaluation and a rubric. An evaluation is just that. It can have a series of criteria or questions, often resulting in yes and no or scores. So this particular one here is, did they purpose was communicated clearly, organized, easy to follow, exhibited a good understanding of the topic, well prepared, spoke clearly, effective time. So you stayed in that time frame. If you have a 2 to 4 minute, 2 to 5 minute, 3 to 5 minute, 5 to 7 minute presentation, you stayed within that time. Slides enhanced presentation. So the slides that they had were effective. Presenter responded effectively to audience questions and comments, and then presentation was done in a way that really engaged the audience. Very simple. Then you have these open-ended questions, such as, what did you like most about the presentation? What areas might you suggest for improvement? So this is an example of just a regular evaluation form. This week, as you understand a little bit more about group dynamics and you understand about the difference between presentation and presentation rubrics, When we talk about rubrics, this is more formalized, and there's a lot of different authors that create these scales. Without a doubt, Donald Thomas and Victor Blotcher of Speak Out did a great manual for public speaking, and they talk about the 3 to 5 points, clarity, enunciation, all that good stuff. Let's look at an example of a rubric. A rubric would look something like this. So this would be a PowerPoint rubric. With a rubric, you have the criteria and the scale value. So in something like this, this would be a scale from 1 to 5, low to high. And you can see in this particular rubric, it's organized in a linear fashion from, in other words, each category is vertical, not horizontal. Your categories are information balance, graphics and language, topic choice, presentation style, and organization. And the way this would work is if you look horizontally across, this would be all the criteria for a 5. For information balance, each slide supplements major points. So you have, and then you have what would qualify as 4s. Then you have what would qualify as 3s, 2s, and 1s. Now, during your presentation, you would simply circle those that apply. So maybe they had a 5 in information balance, but the topic choice was a 4. Maybe their organization was very disjointed, so you end up giving them a 2. How you then scale the points is completely up to you. In this case here, they have the contribution to the effort here is based on 100%, 90%, 75%, 50%, and 25% for team evaluation. Then they take the categories, they multiply, and then there's your points. This is an example of a rubric. This particular one is a group rubric. Okay, so let's talk about your evaluation and homework for this week. The first thing is, since we're talking about presentation evaluation tools, I want you to do a little investigation. And I want you to find evaluation of presentation tools. For this discussion posting, I'd like you to search the web for different presentation evaluation tools. You will find a presentation tool that you find is extremely useful and share it with your classmates. Please be sure to include the following. What is the source of your tool? What do you like about the tool or tools? What would you change about the tool? And do you feel this tool provides meaningful feedback? Why or why not? Now, I'm hoping it's going to be a why because you did pick something useful. But if it doesn't provide meaningful feedback, then absolutely provide why not. Please, in your discussion board, give us a link to your source. If it's downloadable in a PDF, you can attach or upload the PDF, or a JPEG of the instrument so we can see it visually. Any or all of those will work. Again, be sure to review the previous postings because there can be no repeats. So you're finding an evaluation tool and sharing it with the team. The next thing that you're doing for your assignment this week is you're actually going to recreate a tool. Last week, I put Google Forms tutorial up for a purpose because this week you're going to use it. My only requirement is that in your form, whatever you decide to choose, you must have one of at least all of the following: short answer, long answer, drop down, checkbox, multiple choice, linear, date, and time. If you choose to do any additional enhancements such as branching questions or grids, that's completely up to you. I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to go ahead into the Google. And within the Google, I'm simply going to go into Google Forms. One of the things I want you to first of all do is make sure that when you create your Google form, you're logged in to the LRCCD environment. However, there are a couple changes I want you to make. It's very important that you go, notice there's the questions and those responses tab. I'm going to minimize this so you can see up here there is the settings feature. It is important in the settings feature that you make the following changes. This needs to be an anonymous form, so please do not have it collect email addresses. Where it has restrict to Los Rios Community College District users, please deselect that option. For presentation, show progress bar is always a courtesy to the user. So please show the progress bar. Do not shuffle the question order. And show link to submit another response is always a good practice. Once you've saved those changes, you're ready to create your form. Now remember, this is a presentation evaluation. You are welcome to be as specific as you'd like. Thank you for attending our workshop on Canvas for the business student. Please take time to provide us with some valuable feedback regarding your experience. And once again, you can be as creative as you'd like. Key thing here is when it comes to your questions, I want you to have a good choice. So for example, date of attendance. Great, and maybe that's a date form. You can decide whether it's required or not. Perhaps you want a multiple choice. Location of presentation. And we're going to make this a multiple choice. Perhaps it was ARC. Perhaps it was CRC. Perhaps it was Sac City College, or perhaps it was Folsom Lake. Another type of question that I'd like you to have is going to be a short answer. Please state your major. Short answer. Another type of question you might want to have is a paragraph. That would be appropriate at the end. For example, feel free to share anything else that you feel would be helpful to improve our events in the future. It's very, very appropriate to have checkboxes on forms. So perhaps please select any, all workshops you attended. And this is Canvas submissions. Canvas for beginners. Canvas video creation. Canvas accessibility features. And yes, we do have spell check. And then even add another. That would be checkboxes. So we've got our multiple choice. Another one would be a drop down. Please indicate your gender. So maybe you have male, female, other. Not willing to share. add my tea. Perfect. During a presentation evaluation form, one of a most common would be a linear scale. Please rate your experience from 1 to 5. Whenever you have a question such as this, you're always welcome to put labels on us. Waste of my time, invaluable experience, and then anything in between. You're not required to create a multiple choice grid, but multiple choice grids can sometimes be helpful. So this could be workshop 1. I'll put number 1. Workshop number 2. This could be something like as would recommend, would not recommend. Perfect. So once you get your worksheet done, your form the way you want it, we can simply go into preview, then you're seeing a list of the radial choices versus short answer, long answer, check boxes, Likert scale. This here would simply be would recommend, would not recommend. If you see something you don't like, for example, column 3, I don't want there, simply coming back here, column 3, making sure I remove that from my view because I had inadvertently added it. And voila, there you go. So this week, you're going to find a form and you're going to figure out how you can make that form into an online Google form. Perfect. When you go to submit, all you need to submit is a link to your online form. So if this is my form and I go to view live or preview, notice this is my form link. In the editing form as well, you've got the options available of add-ons, printing your form, changing colors, styles. When you go to your settings, you won't need to change anything in your quizzes, but please make sure you change the general so restrict to Los Rios is turned off. Perfect. That's it. All right. Let's go back to the next assignment. So we only have a little over a week left together. So this is how we're going to spend it. You're working and focusing on your individual presentations. Your topics have been submitted, and for some of you, I had to do a little bit of tweaking or a little bit of changing, but your general ideas are great. So now you're just ready to rock and roll, and you're going to create your presentations on the applications of your choice, as well as create audio and recordings. You are then going to record your submission. Now, you're going to save it in MP4 format and upload it to this box. If you need help saving it as an MP3 format or recording it, there's several options for you. Firstly, if you are using PowerPoint, I've placed the instructions here of how to go from PowerPoint to MP4 for your upload. If you need help with the sound, syncing, and or capturing, simply make sure you make an appointment with me, and either online or in person, I can absolutely meet with you. However, we would need to meet during the week of the 8th to do it, and I need to schedule you on my appointment calendar by Friday the 5th. So if you want to schedule a meeting for me during the week of the 8th, please make sure you get in touch with me by the 5th so we can make sure to put you on my calendar. Note, if you're using a personal YouTube, Prezi, or other presentation tool, just make sure that you upload the URL to this box. Ultimately, what will happen is all the presentations will be put up on a YouTube link that will be a private unlisted link. Those links will be embedded into an evaluation, and your final exam is going to be not until May 12th. It will unlock, but your final exam is not a comprehensive exam. What your final exam is simply to select 5 of your colleague presentations and provide a evaluation and submit the form online and feedback for 5 presentations. So for 5 feedback presentations, that will give you 100 points. Each feedback that you provide is worth 20 points. For those of you who need to make up points and wish to submit extra evaluations, I will accept up to 2 additional evaluations for 40 extra credit points. So when we go to modules, this week we are looking at group presentation theory, how to build rubrics, and providing for your feedback. You're working on your last projects, which are understanding the group presentation, discussion article on presentation evaluation tools, creating a Google form feedback based upon a form that you found, working on your individual presentation recording, which is not due in the Dropbox till the 11th, and then your peer evaluations will not open until the 12th once I post all of those. Next week, we will have a meeting on Tuesday. It'll only be an informative meeting, and we'll be talking about ADA requirements when it comes to scripts, embedded scripts, and closed captioning. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my chat. Do we use the evaluation form? We are to create? No, you don't have to. You're welcome to use a pre-existing form. So let's go back to the instructions on that just to make sure that we're really clear. I did not stay on that for very long. Automated evaluation and feedback. Last week, you presented with a tutorial on the topic of Google Forms. This week, you will create a form to collect feedback from a presentation. You may base your form on an existing tool or create the content from scratch. The requirement of the form are as follows, and then there you go. A demonstration has been provided. So you're welcome to use my form. You're welcome to use another form. If there's a form that you found in your presentation discussion, that is absolutely fine. Okay, so there's one more question. In what environment do you say that we have to create our Google form? Maria, you are using the Google Form environment. So you simply go to my Google Drive and you're using New and simply go to More and you're using Google Forms. And the tutorial was available last week. No, the evaluation you will use for the presentations I create. I actually give you my tool. I have an online tool that you'll be using, and it will be embedded into each of your presentations once you send them to me. There'll be one form online where you will click on, you'll be able to see the presentation and then fill out the form underneath it. Perfect. But you'll be using my form. Thank you, Susan. Great questions. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end tonight. Thank you so much for your patience. Have a great evening, and I will start the recording. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'll hang out for a little bit if everybody or anybody has a question.